Wow. That's a pretty sketchy, slippery looking log there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this down and try to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm at the Thorne nursing station, they call it. It's a nursing clinic, I guess, operated by the Mattawa Hospital, I believe. Anyway, that's the parking area in Thorne. Left a note on the dash. I tried to knock on the door to let them know I'm going to be on the trail for a few days. But anyway, so it's about a 5-kilometer walk up this trail here from the parking lot to get to the trailhead of the southern terminus of the Ottawa Temiskaming Highlands Trail. So the plan here is to get to the southern terminus of the trail, and the trail is 140 kilometers long between here and Latchford, Ontario, and it's not a loop, it's an end-to-end, so obviously I'm not going to be doing anywhere near the 140. So my idea is over 4 days to go up as far as I can for night 2 and then turn around, have night 3 halfway back. Now apparently the trails are very rugged and difficult. We'll see how that goes. So I actually have no plan in terms of itinerary other than what I just laid out. So there's a number of campsites along the way, number of options where I could stop, and it's a Crown Land Trail, I believe. It's not a provincial park, so this first section here is an ATV trail, and I understand there's a flooded section up here that I'm going to have to navigate through. Starting off with a good hill already. Weather is calling for on and off showers today, which is Friday, and again on Monday. We'll see how that changes. I'll have to check in a couple of days and see how Monday looks. It's only going to get down to about 10 degrees Celsius at night, so it's going to be very warm, and getting up into the mid to high teens, even into the mid 20s on a couple of the days, so it's going to be warm too. Anyway, I'm told this trail is one constant uphill, and so far, even on the ATV trail, it kind of feels like that. Anyway, so on the way up, there is one section at Porcupine Creek where I have an option of doing an alternate that sticks on the shoreline, or sticking on a trail that goes up the Porcupine Creek Canyon. So my intention is to make a decision when I get to that intersection and decide to do one or the other, and then on the way back do the opposite. So that's the plan for now. May not even get that far, we'll see. Anyway, gotta focus on walking and getting going here. Talk soon. I think we're coming up to the flooded section that I was warned about. I was warned to be prepared to get your feet wet here. There might be a way to go around, but it looks like a really big marsh here. So I might try over to the left here, to the right here maybe, or I just might go fording right through it. Yeah, so I had to take at least 4 steps into that water, and my feet got wet obviously, but they're drying pretty quickly already. So I highly encourage you to have GPS for this, for it's really good map skills. Something that doesn't show up on the trail maps is all these side trails off of the ATV trail. So I actually pulled up all trails, and it actually has these ATV trails on here, so I was able to match that up with the trail map and make sure I'm going the right way. But bottom line is, stick with the wider trails when you get to that point. about 40 minutes in or so, where you got to veer right. It'll be obvious. It's a pretty wide trail as well. And then you get to another trail here that's actually more of a road. It's a little porcupine bush road or something like that it's called. Yeah, so no more uphill. The mosquitoes and bugs were nasty in the forest area there, so I put on the bug net, and that made a huge difference. Even with the DEET on, they're just like crazily surrounding. It's the end of May, so we're heading into that season, and there's been a bit of rain. It's actually quite wet. It's been raining for the last couple of days anyway here. Anyway, I'm going to continue on, and I'll show you what the trailhead looks like. One of the long-term members of the Latchford Trail Association, or Trail Incorporated, last really demarked the entrance to the trailhead. I showed me a picture of that, so it's obvious no one can ever miss it the way he did it. So I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll be actually headed onto the actual trail. The trail is incredibly well blazed. Literally every 20 feet or so there's a blaze or a ribbon, which is good because most of the ground, although on the camera here it looks like you can see a more visible trail than you actually can in real life. Clearly it's not a trail that's used a lot compared to some of the provincial parks, but you can see there is some trail here. Lots of areas of baby maple trees and evergreens, and some blow over, but not too bad. But look at all those blazes. Don't even need the GPS. Yeah, I'm going really slow. By about just under 3 kilometers, an hour. And the reason is primarily, well, I keep stopping to smell the roses, but the trail is all covered in very wet leaves because of all the rain that they've had in the last 48 hours or so. So I have to be very careful with my footing because there's lots of hidden rocks and roots underneath all of the leaves. So it's slow going. Just reminded of something, all these mountain streams that I'm seeing. Back in my 20s, I'm hesitating here because there's a pretty significant blowdown here. I'm gonna have to negotiate across. Anyway, back in my 20s, I was really into the martial arts, and I dreamt about having my own martial arts school. And I'm gonna have to figure this out. I dreamt about having my own martial arts school, and I'd come up with a name of it for it called Yamanokawa Dojo. Yamanokawa, and I was my own Japanese interpretation using a dictionary. I don't know if I ever verified it. Of oh my, this is pretty nasty. Of a mountain stream. And the whole idea is that, from a philosophical perspective, you know, water flows around things, doesn't resist, yet it has the power to eat through rocks and so on. So seeing all these streams reminded me of that. Way back then, I even had marketing material drawn up and logos and had decals up in my home gym at my dad's house. Anyway, I'd totally forgotten about that. It's like over 30 years ago now. But just seeing all these mountain streams just reminded me of that. Anyway, that was the worst blowdown so far. Not significant, still manageable. But yes, my pace is really slow and I don't mind. All of the ground, I'd say 90+% of it is off camber. So you're on the side of a hill without very flat ground. So you have to take that into consideration for your pace. And also make sure you've got good ankle mobility. So anyway, really enjoying out here. It's just beautiful. So onward we go. Just took my pack off for a minute to camel up on some water. A nice little teeny water source here. Drank about a liter of water. There's definitely a lot of water sources here, particularly after all the rain that's come down the last day or so. But I think being a hillside like this section anyway, there's no real need to carry a huge amount of water. About a liter or so would be fine. Anyway, just had a little snack too, and looked over here further up the trail. And this tree has fallen in a perfect, beautiful arch for us to walk under. This looks like a real fresh one. Right across the trail, I think. I try to go between it and the river, I think. Just stopped for a quick break at a canoeing campsite. Beautiful little spot. Little peninsula here. Has its own beach. And a few tent spots over there. Nice view. See, it's very humid and foggy still today. Yeah, a really nice little spot for canoeing. And the only reason I was able to figure out where we're at, because it doesn't seem to be, seems to be between some campsites. I think I might have walked by one of the official trail ones, is that it has this sign up here about there's a canoe campsite. Anyway, good little break spot. I don't know if anybody might know what these steel cables are. There's a couple of them along here. I'm assuming they're left over from the lumber days or something. Maybe they tied a barge or something here. Not sure, but if anybody knows, let me know. So I don't know what's going on here. We are at 7.4 kilometers, and I haven't seen a marked campsite yet besides the canoeing one. So I don't know. When I get to the first marked campsite, I'll be able to see where we are from a mileage perspective and based on what name it is. So I'll check back in there. No regrets. Like I said, I started the hike with zero expectations in terms of how far I would get to. So just have to plan accordingly based on what we find out. So after that canoeing campsite, it was really nice to get to that spot because it became very flat at that one section there. So it was a real nice relief from having the left foot higher than the right for the rest of the hike up to that point. But then immediately it took a left right up this really, really steep hill, which wasn't that bad because again, it was at least your left and right foot were even. So we got up to the ridge up there, and the walk was on flat ground. It was so nice. Part of it looks like it was on a part of an old lumber road. But then there was a really technical descent back down to the river, quite a far distance, which was fun. One of the things to be aware of if you try this trail is between the various routes, there's some hidden post holes, if you will. So your feet or even your trekking pole, if you're not careful, can get sucked down quite deep. And that's another reason to go really slow on some of those sections. And also be ready to pull your trekking pole up before it snaps when that happens. Anyway, we'll check back in when I get to the first marked. Almost slipped. Everything is so wet still. First marked campsite. I got to one just past that beach that I just showed. It isn't labeled that I've been able to see yet. Not a bad spot, nice view. And there's a area where you can walk out, and the beach of course is just around the corner. And there's a few flat spots for tents. I just don't know what site this is. I'm going to keep looking for a sign. Maybe it's back up at the trail. There is trail signs up there for the overall trail, but haven't seen anything for the name of the campsite. So I think I figured it out. For whatever reason, I forgot to mention earlier, the GPX file wasn't working on my Garmin watch. So I hadn't been referring to the trail so well marked that I haven't bothered looking at GPS. So I did have the GPX file on the Gia app. So I just opened that up, and that beach was Porcupine Beach, and the site right after it was Porcupine, one of the Porcupine Creek campsites. So I think the mileage actually is working out pretty close to what was in the planner. I'll have to compare it afterwards. I can really hear the water roaring through here. Anyway, yeah, so the G app showed me where I was here, and just going to continue on. I'm going to go up the shoreline alternate, I think, unless I get lost, and just keep going up along the water that way instead of doing the canyon, then do the canyon on the way back. I don't know how we're going to get across this water here. Let's have a look. Wow, that's a pretty sketchy, slippery looking log there. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this down and try to figure out what I'm going to do. Well, that was insane. I buckled everything down on my pack. I strapped my poles and tightened everything up, put my phone in my pocket, secured everything. And basically I just straddled the log like a horse and shuffled all the way across. Try not to look down in the water, because it's actually pretty scary further on down if I were to fall off of that. It's quite a current and a bunch of other obstacles further down. So I think this is a result of the heavy rain, or else there probably would have been more mention of this, or some mention of it in the planner or something. But anyway, be warned, if there's been a lot of rain, or maybe earlier in the spring, That's a nasty one. And if that log was dry, I might have tried to walk across it. My balance is pretty good. But the thing is, it was just glossy shiny. So, and when I got on top of it, I could tell with my hands it was mighty slippery. So that would have been way too crazy to try to walk across a slippery like that. So that's done. I can breathe again and keep moving on. So this is Camp 12, I believe. It's on a little peninsula. Nice little spot. The problem is, I don't think there's much room really for a tent. Maybe my one-person tent could possibly fit somewhere here, but it's really, really bumpy ground. So I'm not too sure exactly where you would set up. Anyway, gonna continue on. Camp 11 is next. This would be Camp 11. Again, I have no idea where you'd set up a tent on here. It's really, really lumpy, maybe right there. Probably right there, but I wouldn't want to do more than even a two-man would be pushing it. So this is the, I think it's KAG or KAA, the sign on the tree over here for canoers says KAG, but I believe the map says KAA, so I'm not too sure which it is. Anyway, there's a bit of a flat spot right there, good enough for my tent, and I'm quite tired and it's already 5 o'clock I think, and next campsite is an hour and 45 from here. Which makes it a little bit too pressing in terms of getting set up and hanging my bag and relaxing a little bit. So I'm going to stop here and set up, and we'll talk later. Here's home for the night, the Lanshan Pro. All set up, ready to go. Lots of room in here. My bag will actually go over there beside me. And I've got that ice flame quilt going on here, and the Nemo Tensor pad, the older version, and the Trekology 2.0 pillow. Very comfy setup, and it's going to be maybe too warm because I had this down to about 2 degrees Celsius a few weeks back, and it was good. So it's going to be about 10 tonight, so I might have it loose around me. It is a quilt, so lots of flexibility in terms of how you use it. So I'm going to go find a hang spot for my bag, so I don't have to deal with that later on, and then I'm gonna cook some dinner and just relax. I'm not gonna bother with a fire or anything, but there's a few rocks over there by the water. I might just go out there and sit and look out over the water after, or maybe while I'm eating. My feet have been wet all day because of the initial couple of water crossings. I got soaked, and just everything I was stepping in all day today was soaking wet, so my feet need some TLC. My socks need a little bit of a wash. Then I'll hang them on the, oh, a lot of dirt coming off of those. I'll hang them on the back of my bag tomorrow, and let them dry out as the day goes on. So wear my second pair. Ooh, this is pretty soft. Mosquitoes have found me near the water here for some reason. Oh, that water is nice and cold on the feet.
Oh, it's refreshing. All right. It's on the water, you guys. So, I got a little secret here that most of you probably already know, and that is how to put on wet shoes without ruining your dry socks. Alright, these are Smartwell socks. I think they're about as comfortable as the darn tough, but they don't have the same warranty. Anyway, I'm not shooting plastic bags, but oh, that's wet. Ta-da! Some people use sandwich bags, but I didn't have any sandwich bags, so the challenge here is for me to get up without. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. My feet are waterproof now, but I don't want to get my shoes more wet than they already are. Decided to go simple for this trip for my cook system, and so titanium pot with a little BRS stove. It's like 25 grams or something, titanium, super light. I didn't want to mess around with a twig stove or alcohol stove for this trip. I wanted to focus on the hiking and not so much the camping experience, so I just wanted to keep it simple. So all done dinner, everything's packed up, bear bag is hung, and I'm seeing a second boat of the day way down the river there. It's going to be coming by here. Anyway, it's about 7 o'clock, 7:30, 28, so I'm going to go in the tent, listen to some music and relax. I think it's been a interesting long day. Definitely challenging trails, very, very challenging. There's a lot of sections that aren't challenging, but there's a lot of sections that are. I think my total ascent today, my total climbing was about 1,200 feet, and the same for coming down because I kind of started not too high off of the water level in Thorne, and covered about 15 kilometers, and I'll put on the screen all the stats. So anyway, it was a long day, and it felt that 15 kilometers felt tougher than the 27 or whatever I did in Frontenac Park in their most difficult trails a couple of weeks ago, just to give you an idea of the challenge of these trails. Definitely rugged. The way they describe them is very rugged, but very rewarding too, and it's certainly very, on the one hand it feels really isolated, but you know, you can see the occasional cottage on the Quebec side across the river here, And again, this is the second boat that's gone by, but on this side of the river, once you're onto the trail, it feels very, very isolated. So anyway, wonderful day. It's drying up. I think everything's going to be drier for the next couple of days until the rain on Monday. And tomorrow I'm going to come up with a plan just to hike north and see what happens. All right, so good night. Thanks.